my name is Liz and welcome to my review of New York Times bestselling novel, The Selection by Kiera Cass. I'm wearing my prom dress from senior prom, so there's that. So basically there's this whole country that is future day America. It's called Ilea. I forget how to pronounce it, but that's basically what it is. And in order for the prince to get married, he has to go through this selection process in which somebody out there, some group of people decides, here's 35 women who have sent us their pictures or applications and pictures, and you get to pick from these girls. And every week or so, you get to send some people home. Sounds suspiciously like The Bachelor, but there are no roses. America doesn't really want to be there since she just went through a heartbreaking experience before she got to the castle, and so she's just kind of like, I could see if you want to send me home, but I really don't want to go home. If you could just let me stay here for a little bit. Not really freeloading, but just kind of like emotionally, she just needs to be away from home. And so he strikes a deal with her to be like, I get that you could be a valuable asset, being that you're kind of on the inside of this whole thing, and you could kind of point me in the right direction and like tell me more about the girls that they would tell me, because I guess he understands that, you know, a lot of the girls are putting on a show, because basically they're in the running to be the queen of Ilea. On top of the girls putting on a show, they definitely get catty at points, because there are points, I forget the girl's name, but there are some really snotty girls who were just like 1s or 2s or 3s, something like that, and they just get like, I am better than you, I deserve this over you. And like there are points when those kinds of people, they kind of, you know, mellow out, get a little bit more humble about their circumstances, and they're like, yeah, I could see so-and-so becoming queen, or you see them feel or read about them feeling threatened by somebody because they know that that person has a more likelihood of being queen than they do. The conversation in the book that I thought that was thoroughly interesting was between Marley and America, and they were talking about, you know, they're just kind of like sitting down and looking out at this crowd of girls. They're talking about how like they could see each person being queen, like everybody has good qualities, and I think that was a really big theme in the book, was just seeing really qualities that maybe nobody else was seeing, or you know, something like that in other people. Like you're not just sitting there going, oh well, that person is acting like this, so they must be like that all the time. Because even though a lot of like the society, you know, the queen doesn't get that much power, she gets to sit in meetings, you know, even though all throughout that, like these girls can empower each other and give each other power, rather than it being all about, you know, what other people outside of this whole, you know, castle experience, the selection experience, what they're thinking about these girls. Also, another interesting thing was the whole caste system in Ilea, and there's, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way down to 8. 7 and 8 are like barely human status, like it's just bad. And America is in 5, which is pretty low. She's like musician slash artist. Her family, like they're sculptors and painters, and she is really good at, you know, playing the piano, playing the violin. I think she can basically play any instrument she wanted to. She's very talented. But you know, these people are forced into these castes, and the only way to move up is to get into the selection, and they offer to put you in the 3, I believe. If you're lower than that, they bump you up to 3, just because you're used to getting that, I guess they get kind of like a paycheck to their families every month or something, or every week, something like that. Speaking of America's family, I thought that her sister was adorable. She's like a little fangirl, and she's like, okay America, you need to hang out with Maxon because I think he's cute, and you should, have you kissed him yet? These kinds of things, and she's just like totally shipping them together. Like, it's adorable. Segue on to character names. As you may have noticed, there is a main character named America Singer. That's quite strange. There's also a girl named Tuesday, which was very confusing because, you know, you think of Tuesday as an actual, you know, a day of the week, and so when they talked about Tuesday, I was sitting there like, what? They don't really like say, oh, you know, there's this girl named Tuesday, you know, figure it out. But yeah, but now it's reminding me of like Wednesday Addams. Probably no relation to any of that. Maybe it's not a reference to the Addams family, but you know, there were some crazy names. There are some also regular names like Sylvia, and you know, I've heard of a girl named Marley and things like that, but you know, usually you don't see strange names. Well, there are some weird names, but you know, in novels, you always see these very like Anglo-Saxon names like Elizabeth, and Amy, and Emily, and I just keep doing this. Just, you know, just regular, like, American names, those kinds of things. And so that was interesting. I thought it was kind of weird, but at the same time, it was like, that makes it very, you remember the names. You remember American Singer. You remember Prince Maxon. You remember Tuesday. And last but not least, this kind of goes along the same lines as what I was talking about earlier about how America and Marley were talking about the other girls being, you know, a little bit more complex than they actually seem, and how, you know, everybody has special qualities that could qualify them as being, you know, good royal type people. Basically, there's a point when America sees kind of like a shift of perspective of the royal people from, you know, these boring starch people that she sees on television, and actually like getting to know them, or at least being in the same house as them, in the same castle, and just seeing them, how they react to certain events, especially with the attacks on the castle and things like that. Like, you see like real things happen, and I feel like that really made them, I guess, real for me, but also the fact that you get to see them evolve as characters as she gets to see them evolve as characters, because it is from her perspective. Of course, with a dystopian novel, you always have strange things like, oh my gosh, their history is only oral. There is no written history, which, like, you might think, oh, that's cool that they just rely on oral history. But they have books. They have books in this whole society. So it's not like they're banning books. It's like, you know, they just don't want, they want to be able to, I guess, manipulate the history and maybe use it to their advantage. But hopefully that's something that'll be answered later in the series, because I think this is going to be a trilogy. I believe that's more than enough rambling about the selection by Kiera Cass. I thought it was like one of those adorable but dystopian novels at the same time, so it's like you get to like read about pretty dresses, but also people are having real stuff going on, and just getting real. Just getting real. I hope some of you consider picking up this book. I thought it was awesome. I just could not put it down. I was just like staying awake till I could finish reading it, even though I had, you know, finals the following week. But I would like to also thank Sasha and M. They sent me this book and they were like, hey, here's the book, I hope you don't have it. And so I didn't have it, so thank you for that, and I loved it, and I'm gonna cherish this forever. And yes, okay, so I hope you all have a great day and keep reading.